In George Orwell's original preface to the book Animal Farm, he offered a truth that I think is particularly relevant to our time. He wrote, "If liberty means anything at all, it means the right to tell people what they do not want to hear." Unfortunately, this liberty, this freedom of expression, is becoming increasingly threatened. Through extensive research into the perspectives of several different tech experts and prestigious law journals, I've discovered that there exists an excessive amount of control that certain companies have over the accessibility of information online. What's more, I've also discovered that it is through our almost exclusive use of such companies, like Google, Facebook, Amazon, that perpetuates the immense power that these companies have and threatens our freedom of expression. Consequently, it is our responsibility as the users of the web to go beyond Google and diversify the online services we use in order to cultivate competition in the online market, reduce the immense power of these companies, and thereby protect our freedom of expression. However, in order to achieve this protection, we need to first understand the reality of the threats that these companies pose, how we can stop those threats, and the consequences of doing so. I'll begin by addressing the immense threats that these companies pose to our freedom of expression. Essentially, these companies endanger our freedom of expression in primarily two ways. First, they possess an excessive amount of control over the accessibility of information. Google, for example, owns over 90% of the market share in search engines, and its runner-up, the all-powerful Microsoft's Bing, follows with a mere 3.5%. Additionally, 2/3 of American adults, according to the Pew Research Center, get their news from social media, and over 60% of that comes directly from Facebook and Google's YouTube. As you can see, the world heavily relies on this small number of companies for the information that they get about the world. And as a result, the information that is available to the public is largely determined by what these companies choose to make available. However, their immense power does not stop there. These companies are also able to silence opposition. A recent example of this occurred just several months ago when Barry Lynn, a member of the New America think tank, was fired from his position. Countless news outlets agreed that the reason he was fired was because of pressure that Google placed on his employer. Why did Google do this? The reason is because Barry Lynn was writing academic articles in support of an over $2.5 billion fine that the European Union filed against Google in June of this year. And the reason that they filed this fine was because of Google's abuse of its market dominance. However, we should not be intimidated by the immense power that these companies have. We, instead, have a responsibility to cultivate competition in the online market, reduce the immense power of these companies, and thereby protect our freedom of expression. And this responsibility really does lie in our hands. We can't rely on the government to fix this issue for us. Many of the law journals that I've read discussed how our American antitrust laws, the laws meant to rein in the immense power of monopolies, are simply ill-equipped to handle these kind of companies. Essentially, these companies offer free services, and as a result, there is no risk for customer abuse in the eyes of the law. This renders our antitrust laws largely inapplicable to these kind of companies. However, there is still hope. We, as the users of the web, have a lot more power than we realize. And this power lies in one important realization. Namely, that we are not the customers of these companies, but rather, we are the products that they market. These free services are nothing more than bait. Bait to lure us onto these sites that collect our personal information, our time, and our attention that are then sold to the highest paying advertisers. That's how they make a profit, not through the free services themselves. So, if we diversify the online services we use, we can contribute to companies like Google's and Facebook's competitors and cultivate competition in the online market. Just to give you a few examples of the alternatives that you can use, include Bing, Yahoo, sites like DuckDuckGo, and virtually any other alternative that will redirect the immense power that is being given to these companies almost exclusively. Once this competition has been achieved, two benefits will occur that will protect our freedom of expression. First, these company policies that motivate these companies will more closely conform to the will of the users. With the existence of competition, these companies will have to compete in order to maintain customers. And as a result, there will be a greater incentive for them to put the will of the users first in order to not risk losing their customers to their competitors. Additionally, this competition would also limit their ability to silence opposition. Essentially, we would no longer need Google's or Facebook's permission to be heard. If Google or Facebook refused to publicize the information we wanted to share with the world, as they have done so in the past with censorship, this competition would allow there to be a plethora of other avenues through which we could share our ideas with the world. As you can see, the benefits of cultivating competition in the online market cannot be overstated. We, as the users of the web, have a responsibility to change our online habits in order to stop contributing to the immense power of these small number of companies. We need to diversify the online services that we use in order to cultivate competition in the online market, reduce the immense power of these companies, and thereby protect our freedom of expression. So here's my question for you. Will we, as the users of the web, continue to contribute to the power of these immense near monopolies? Or will we diversify the services that we use, go beyond Google, and protect our freedom of expression?